How's it going, guys? Bibi here with a different video. I'm doing a speed build of a gardens in Newcrest. So as you guys know, I do stream The Sims 4, and Newcrest is one of those towns that has absolutely nothing, and that is where we are based. So I thought that I might do a speed build and kind of try and make a pretty park, one that we can go down to and work out at, or we can maybe bring our children to later on once we have kids. So at the moment I'm just building the bathrooms, having a little bit of trouble with it. I'm still new to building houses in The Sims 4, at least for the console version. I don't do a lot of building even on the PC, to be honest. So trying to learn a few things here and there. Unfortunately, I did realise that I'm a little bit too close to the corner, so I'm going to have to move the whole thing over. This build here has a lot of room for lots of different people to go to the loo, so then there's no queues, because I always find whenever I'm bringing my sim out and about, someone always ends up walking into the bathroom when I'm using it, and then you end up with the embarrassed moodlet, and then it just kind of wrecks your sim's day. So I made sure to put in a lot of stalls. It is unisex, so pretty much any sim can go in there. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of different types of builds in The Sims. Some will be live streamed and others will be speed builds like this. This is the very first time that I've ever done a speed build, so I hope that you guys do enjoy it. I take a little while trying to decide on a bunch of different things in this area. I did find that these lights don't actually bring out much light, so later on I think I do end up adding in some more lights later on, because otherwise we're going to have a very dark and dingy looking bathroom, and you don't want that. I mean, public bathrooms are always usually pretty crappy and dingy in general, and I didn't want it to be like that. So I decided to go for some nice standard toilets. I didn't go for the unbreakable ones because I thought if any of them do break, then at least we can fix them up. At least you can get your skill up if any of these do break. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble. I don't have all of the shortcuts kind of saved in my head yet. So I'm still kind of learning. I usually take a lot of my inspiration from other simmers that I like to watch. So Vixella, Sim Supply, Urban Sims. Sim Supply definitely, because he does a lot of videos like this and I absolutely love them. I look up to all those simmers, and I do think that you guys should go and check their videos out, because they're all really interesting, and you'll see a lot of kind of inspiration coming from them in a lot of my builds, except I do try and put my own little flair on it. So I'm taking ages to try and decide on some lights. In the end I do just go with the standard UFO lights. Everyone seems to love them. The ones that I actually rather use in builds are the really bright ones, but unfortunately they come with the expansion pack, and as you guys know, the expansion packs, at least on the PlayStation 4, are hideously expensive. So it comes with Get to Work, and Get to Work costs $63.99, I think, New Zealand dollars, which is just ridiculous when you can buy it on the Origin store for your computer for, I think it's $50. So another problem with doing such small stalls is that you have trouble with pulling each item down. I'm trying to place some toilet rolls, because you know you kind of need toilet rolls in public bathrooms, and they always end up a little bit too high. So there's a lot of this, just me placing down the same individual thing. I did actually realize after I had built this that I could have just duplicated or copied one of these rooms and then just place them down. I always forget that you can do that. So we'll skip past. As you see now, I'm just placing down a bunch of soap dispensaries. The problem with doing move objects when you're trying to place down things like this is that sometimes you have floating items. I'm pretty sure I managed to get all of them in the right place, but there's also the slight chance that some of them might be hovering. If that's the case, then oh well, we have magical soap. But yeah, move objects in The Sims is just a godsend. But again, doing this on the console is actually really difficult. Having to put in all the commands and then trying to remember what buttons do what. And as you see, even trying to play something like this, it keeps snapping to the wrong place. Even when you've got it as freeform, it becomes a little bit difficult. So each room does end up being pretty much identical. Yeah, as you see with the one to the very far right, it is hovering a little bit. I take a little bit of time to pick out the colour of the wallpaper, but I decided to just go with the standard white. I mean, you want it to be nice and sterile and, you know, not dingy. You want it to look nice and open. Now, outside, I was going to go with a wood, but then I decided that it would probably look nice with a brick, just with a nice red brick. There's one in particular, this one here, that has the little white patches on the side, so then it looks like that you have some pillars on each corner, which I absolutely love. And then we'll go with a normal kind of stone flooring inside, easy to clean if anything gets dirty. Now outside, I didn't want to stay as just like a normal beige colour for the pathway. I went with this nice stone, and I think it looks really nice, especially once it starts going around the rest of the park. Now of course we do need windows, so I also had a little bit of trouble with picking windows because unfortunately I went with an odd number of tiles to go across, so it doesn't quite sit as nicely as what I'd like. But having the windows the way that it is, I think works out. So I wanted this to kind of look like your typical toilets that you would see out in like a normal world in real life. It kind of gives off a little bit of a shack vibe, but I think for the most part it works, even with the roof that I decide to pick. It's like a tin roof. I think it's starting to come together. The hard part is going to be when I get to doing all the plants, because that's when it becomes very finicky and there's a lot to do. So now we're pretty much done with our toilets. Just need to put on a little bit of, I don't even know what those things are called, something around the roof. Now I want this to be pretty much near the corner, so need to move this back, and eventually later in the future I'm hoping to maybe at some point do a Sims challenge, or maybe even make my own challenge based around anime. What do you guys think? Leave some ideas of what you'd like to see me do with Sims in the future in the comments. I'd love to read them. So now I'm just trying to figure out kind of what the layout of this whole park is going to be. I'm just kind of tinkering around with putting some pathways all the way around. It's supposed to be the type of park where you could go out and have a nice walk around. I also decided that I might just put some extra doors on the other sides. That way, if anyone's like busting to go to the toilet, they don't have to go all the way around to get into the bathroom. Now it's time to actually start building on this gardens. I thought I'll start off with a tree just in the corner and kind of build off of that. And of course I want to make sure that it kind of looks like that, you know, it's supposed to be there, so we don't want to have a path around it. And we're going to put down a little bit of dirt just to kind of make it seem realistic. I'm trying my hardest to figure out how to use the paintbrush tool there. It's a little bit confusing. I figure it out in the end, but there's always a lot of test and error and trials and all that when you're starting to learn different techniques. I've got a park down near me where there's a bunch of bushes that are around a bunch of big trees like this, so I thought I'd try and replicate what a park near me would look like. There's a lot of same type of plants that in this build that I feel look like that they are they should be there. There are also going to be a bunch of multiple plants that I pretty much just copy and paste but downsize just to give it that like texturing. I also go with a lot of plants that are already in this world, so then the place doesn't feel out of place. I want this park to look like that it should be in this world. So as you see with this one here, I really do like this plant. I feel that it gives a little bit of extra shrubbery without being overdone. I just wish that it had different colours for those flowers there, because as you see they have these little yellow flowers. It would be nice if they had the choice of some more vibrant colours. I don't know whether these flowers actually, or this plant in general, has different colours, but I mean, it's a video game, you can do this. So as you see, I'm just kind of placing these down. There's a lot of just placing this all the way around. It took a very long time. I think this build here in particular took me about 4.5 to 5 hours to finish, and I must say that I am very happy with the end result. So as you see, I'm just kind of filling this in with some extra of that plant, so then it doesn't look like that there's a bunch of empty spaces as well. So I'm just going to skip forward. As you see, there is now a bunch of them all the way around. I thought that I'd put in the corner a kind of fern looking plant, and I use a lot of these all the way through this build as well. If you look around this town, you see that there are a lot of these ferns. That is way too big. The one thing that I don't really do whenever I do build houses is put a lot of stuff outside. I don't really focus on putting in plants and making the garden look pretty, especially because the more you put into your house, the more you have to pay for bills. So I always end up just neglecting doing anything outside. But one thing that I really want to try and do throughout this world and throughout this series is make it look like that it's a place that you'll want to live. I felt that it was starting to look a little bit green, so I wanted to put in some flowers. Do really like these ones. They're really pretty and they look really nice even when you scale them down to the smallest that you can do. As you see, that's what I'm doing now. I'm just scaling them right down and putting them in, just so then it's filling in some of these extra little empty spots. So there's what this one side looks like. It pretty much took me about an hour and a half to do just this one side. I felt that we needed some trees because parks always have a lot of trees, and unfortunately a lot of the trees end up being far too big, so I have to scale them down slightly or scale them up depending on the tree. But I felt that lining this park up with a bunch of trees looked just really nice, and it felt like the type of park that you'd want to go have a bit of walk through on a nice warm spring's day. And that's kind of the vibe that I was looking for. So you see, we've got a variety of trees now, and next I wanted to try and figure out what else I was going to have in the park. When it comes to parks in The Sims, you always see things to build your skills. So I wanted to put in some chessboards because you always see people sitting down playing at the chessboards. So I thought 4 would probably be enough, and later on you'll see that I add in some easels and just a whole bunch of different things to make it that your sim can come down, chill out and get their skills up, and maybe get a little bit of social up as well. So I thought popping them in the corner would look quite cute. You know, one of them is just right underneath the shade of that tree. And yeah, I do feel that they're a little bit too close together. I think I do end up moving them apart later on, but you also need a bunch of benches. I don't know why I decided to turn them around to the outside. In the end, I do end up turning them back around. And of course, you definitely need some rubbish bins, because otherwise you're going to have a bunch of rubbish everywhere, and we don't want to pollute the world. So I think that looks really cute. I now want to start putting down some more trees, just kind of around these benches. But not too many, because otherwise it's going to end up looking a little bit too cluttered. Because that's definitely something that could be easily done. It's just like cluttering up the place. All the way around this park does end up with a bunch of trees, which I love how this turns out. I can't wait for you guys to see the end product. So as you see, we've got some silver birches, we've got some oak trees, and even some bamboo trees. I'm not sure why I put those in there. I just thought that they'd look really cute. The other thing that we need, of course, is a barbecue. So I wanted to do these little individual areas for the barbecue area at a park that I used to go to when I was a child. It had these little areas that had walls around the barbecues, and they would have its own little, what's it called, like self-contained entertainment area. I felt that that was a little bit too low, so we're gonna go a bit bigger. And yeah, what you would do is you'd go there with your family, and you'd have somewhere that you can have a barbecue or a picnic, and you had a little bit more privacy where you don't have to worry about people. I do realize that I end up making one part a little bit bigger than the other. I think I fixed that up off camera, because I realized after the fact that I made a little bit of a boo-boo with this one. But yeah, so as you see, I'm just going to have 3 barbecues along with 3 little self-contained units that you can sit down with your family, have a get together, and you don't have to be disturbed by a bunch of other people. Of course, we do need to add some picnic tables, so we've got some picnic tables. I take a little while to try and figure out how I want to have this laid out. Initially, I was going to have a couple in each one, but I felt that it was just a little bit too cramped. So we decided to go with just one for each little area. There's a lot of finicking and moving things around when it comes to this build. Mainly because I wanted it to look perfect. I had a vision in my mind on how I wanted it to look, and if it wasn't quite right, then I was not going to be happy. So as you see, I decided to paint these walls brick, just like the toilets. And that's pretty much how it was at the park that I used to go to when I was a child, is that there would be some brick walls around it. Of course, I need to put down some dirt to make it look like that people have been using it, because at the moment it's a little bit too perfect. I feel that, you know, there would be a little bit of upheaval of grass, and, you know, it would be a little bit more dirty underneath the table, and where people would be scuffing their feet and all that. You know, you picture kids sitting at a table and they're swinging their legs around and sticking their feet into the dirt and all that. So that's kind of what I wanted to do with this whole build, is, you know, if there's anywhere that people will be walking on, I would be putting a little bit of dirt around just to make it look a little bit more realistic. I also decided that I'd put a few trees around near the picnic area, because if you're out in the summer heat, you'd want to sit down and, you know, be cooking at the barbecue, at least in a little bit of shade. I thought it'd be kind of cute to have a little garden area as well, just kind of a local area that you can come down and you can add your own produce to, and you don't have to really worry about having a garden at home. And the last little touch that I decided to do around the area, except for finishing up the rest of the garden around the whole vicinity, is to put some hedges. I thought that it would be kind of cute to have some hedges all the way around the inside. I do also add some lights, and they are like my favourite outdoor lights to use in The Sims. And you'll see in a minute why they work so well with this. So I've got a bunch of areas where you can pretty much enter. It's easy to enter because you want to have a lot of places to get into the park. So as you see, here is my favourite light of all time in The Sims for outdoor lighting. And that is because it's really modern. And it also sits really nicely with hedges, as you see in a sec. It snaps kind of slightly inside the hedge, but it almost makes it look like that it's a gate of some sort. I know, I just really like this light. I myself hate it when I want to go to a park and there are no lights around. It's just spooky and slightly dangerous. And I wanted this to be a really nice little park that families can come to even in the evening time. We're also going to put in a jungle gym because we want it to be a nice place for kids to come down to and hang out as well. So I've got a couple of jungle gyms there, as well as the space. I think I used the space one. Yeah, I do. I decided to use the space jungle gym because the space one is just adorable. It's so cool. Once they bring out like the family, what's it called, parenthood pack, I can add the toddler toys to it as well, but at the moment there's nothing for outside for the toddlers to use. I decided to put some extra rubbish bins around where you'd make food because you always end up with leftover food, as well as near the doors of the bathroom, just so then there's plenty of places that you can chuck out things. That, and if you've got a homeless person and they decide to rummage through the rubbish, there's plenty of places for them to do that as well. I love the statue, and I think it works really well if you scale it up. So I thought I'd put a few statues here and there just to kind of make it look nice. I don't know, I felt like that there were a lot of empty spaces, so I'm using a bunch of statues just to kind of fill those spaces. I don't know why I wanted to use that sign. I was curious as to what exactly that was. So we're coming to near the end. I thought that I should probably put a pathway through from this entrance here to the other entrance on the other side. Just so then, you know, it's easy to wander through. So which means I do need to kind of change up the entrances on this side here. As you see, I need to kind of pull it back a little bit. So as I was saying earlier, I'm still kind of new to building houses and building gardens and whatnot when it comes to in The Sims. It's a lot of fun. It takes a lot of work, so I'm not sure how many speed build videos I'm going to be doing in the future. It really just depends on the build itself. So as you see, I'm just adding the last few touches. Haven't actually finished the build itself. Have to add the rest of the garden, but pretty much it's pretty much the same as the other side. Just adding in all the ferns, all the different trees, all the flowers. But yeah, I'm in love with it. I'm so happy with how it turned out. So I hope that you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure to hit that like button if you did. Not sure how many more of these speed builds I'm going to end up doing in the future, but yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you thought, if you'd like to see any more of these. Go and check the description below for all of my social media links. If you want to become a patron of mine, you can also find the links to those down there as well. Thank you to my Patreons, Bear, Bernard, as well as Mark. You are all awesome. And until next time guys, from Otamika, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!